Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Ebbsfleet Planning Committee. We're going to start in the usual way with introductions, and I note that this meeting will be recorded and then that will be put on the corporation's website for anybody to look at. So my name is Neil Cameron and I'm a non-executive director of the EDC and I chair this committee.
Good evening, I'm Valerie Owen, I'm a non-exec director at EDC and vice chair of this committee.
I'm Fred Rudess, also a non-exec at EDC.
I'm Councillor David Moat. I'm the Cabinet Member for Housing for Dartford Borough Council.
And I'm Penny Marsh. I'm an independent member of the Planning Committee.
And Lee?
Lee Croxton, I chair Planning Committee, Gravesham Borough Council. Sorry I'm not with you, but I've got to slip away about 6:15 to a planning meeting at the council as well. Thank you.
Good evening. We have officers here as well. Mark, would you like to introduce the officers?
Yep, can do, thank you. So I'm Mark Bullen, Director of Planning and Place at the Development Corporation.
Simpson, I'm the planning case officer for the item.
Shay Eade, Senior Planning Manager.
Simon Harrison, Head of Design at EDC.
And
Tim Sharp, Legal Advisor.
Thank you very much. So we'll turn to the agenda. We have had apologies for absence from Councillor James McInroy. I now turn to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest in addition to those that are already recorded? No. Urgent items? Any urgent items?
nothing today, so thank you.
Record of the meeting. We're asked to approve the record of the meeting held on the 18th of December last year. Can we approve those minutes as accurate? Good.
Agreed.
Thank you. So we now move on to item 5, which is the application for Ashmere Western Village Phase 3, and that's a reserve matters application. We're going to follow our normal procedure, and for those who come here on other occasions, the normal procedure is officer presentation up to 10 minutes, and then supporters have 5 minutes in total. How you share it out is up to you. And then there will be maybe committee questions of the supporters, then committee debate, and then the committee votes on the item. So Wendy.
This proposed before you is an application for the reserved matters of access, scale, layout, appearance and landscaping in relation to Ashmere Phase 3 in the Eastern Quarry Strategic Allocated Area. The proposal comprises 216 dwellings together with the associated infrastructure, a substation. It also proposes to discharge condition 28 of the Outline Planning Permission in relation to road noise. The Eastern Quarry area is a key regeneration opportunity for former quarries. The area is subject to an outline planning permission with Section 106 obligations. There's subsequently been approved an area master plan, area design codes, biodiversity action plan and parking management plan. The area is also to be assessed in accordance with the Dartford local plan and the Ebbsfleet Development Corporation design and strategic documents. As seen on this slide, the Eastern Quarry area is subdivided within the area master plan to create 3 villages: Castle Hill, Alkington and Ashmere. This photograph shows the application site, which is a 3rd phase of Ashmere Village in relation to phases 2 and 3, as well as the proximity to Green Hive and Blue Water and the surrounding road network. Key matters for the development relate to the creation of a sustainable and high quality residential phase as part of the wider village, the living condition of future occupiers, the impact of the development on the living condition of residential neighbours, the impact on the highway network, and the requirement for ecological enhancement under the Biodiversity Action Plan. This site shows the slide location in relation to the earlier phases. It can be seen that the fast track road would run through the site and will divide it into a smaller northern parcel and a larger southern parcel. The proposed housing will be a mix of apartments and houses with a generous percentage of family-sized dwellings. This slide shows that under the area master plan, the application site falls within the urban Ashmere character area, which identifies that the design should be inspired by Kent's historic town centres, displaying a range of buildings, such as types that would result through the evolution over time, that has tight urban grain, and hard surface treatments should be predominant over extensive tree planting. The area master plan identifies the phase as being a residential phase, but the north-eastern boundary would be adjacent to the village green and village centre. In relation to the scale, the area master plan identifies that the north half of the site, outside of fast track, should be high density and buildings between 3 and 8 stories. The south half of the site should be medium density and buildings of 2 or 3 stories high. The area master plan also identifies routes for the creation of primary and secondary frontage as part of the placemaking and the creation of the new townscape. The proposed development meets the height requirements within the area master plan, but the northern half of the site building ranges are at the heights are at the lower end of the possible height range. And similarly, come backwards, sorry. Similarly, the density of the proposed development meets the lower end of the possible density range under the area master plan, when it was disappointing, but is compliant with the matter scale is generally agreed. The area master plan identifies the road network hierarchy for Ashmere, as well as key cycle and pedestrian routes, and the proposal is seen to accord with the movement framework. The street layout is shown here, and the different colours correspond to the various street typologies within the area design codes, and a key in the consideration particularly of reserved matters of layout, appearance and landscaping. As already explained, the fast track road divides phase 3 and has been planning permission has been granted under its own application, and it runs through Linear Park. The massing of the proposed development is seen in the main image and how it corresponds to the approved phase 2 development. 4-storey apartments and 3-storey townhouses are proposed along the fast track corridor and are seen to be of a sufficient scale to create a sense of enclosure to this route, and the same scale is used at the perimeter of the Ashmere Village Green. This site is showing the built form on the northern southern sides of fast track, with its changing architecture from the western end complementing the approved development in phase 2 to the architecture at the eastern end, inspired by the existing historic buildings and townscape in Gravesend town centre. This slide illustrates the architecture and detailing of the townhouses along fast track and fronting the village green, and how they complement the apartment blocks A and B at the eastern end of fast track. All of the apartment blocks will install green roofs as required under the agreed action biodiversity action plan. Some of the ecology enhancement features will be built into the building fabric, and these are controlled by planning condition. The secondary street continues the character of the secondary street through the earlier phases in its layout, landscaping and house design, and meets the design code requirements. 2 tertiary streets run through the site, centrally west to east, and on the eastern boundary running north to south. The asymmetric roof design of the dwellings in the tertiary streets complements earlier phases, and in relation to its layout, landscaping and house design, these streets meet the design code requirements, and strategically the tertiary streets provide green pedestrian route leading through to the village green. This slide shows the north-south tertiary street with the longer terrace house type, but still with those complementary asymmetric roof forms and 3-storey end dwellings at key junctions with the side roads. The traditional Mews streets runs to the rear of the townhouses fronting fast track and the village green, as well as providing access to garages for those dwellings. It provides access to the apartment block parking courts off the shared surface. Dwellings in the form of flats over garages and small 2-storey dwellings are used to create a mixed street scene, street activity and natural surveillance. And at the ends of the Mews are dedicated pedestrian links with play on the way, which provide a pleasant route through from the perimeter streets through the Mews. Some of the shared ownership houses are located within these new streets, of these new streets, and the new streets south of Fast Track follows this same design, and the streets meet the design code requirements. The Urban Muse is a shared surface street with an offset meander to slow traffic and to allow the creation of landscape green pockets from informal congregation, and would also serve to break up the areas of car parking. The houses on the Muse are two-storey, a mix of terrace houses, detached and semi-detached houses with an asymmetric roof form. The slide also identifies affordable housing units, which, in addition to those in the new streets and the apartment blocks C and D, meet the local needs and the Section 106 obligations for the affordable housing within the phase. However, the street layout doesn't wholly comply with the design codes, as it has parking on both sides of the street. On balance of the whole, this divergence is accepted. This slide is just showing some of the materiality and some of the architectural detailing through the site. This is a busy slide. Parking proposals for the site have been extensively discussed and reviewed with the applicant. Proposed parking levels seem to exceed the EDC sustainable transport strategy numbers, mostly due to the tandem parking for houses, while conversely being not wholly compliant with the parking provision requirements in the agreed parking management plan and being under that provision. Consideration of the matter of parking in all of its forms has been extensive, and it's more fully discussed in the committee report. But on balance of all matters, parking proposal is accepted as balancing the need to limit on-street parking to achieve the high-quality public realm ambitions of the master plan in what is this highly sustainable location. Various conditions are proposed to control parking matters as necessary. In respect to living conditions for future residents and neighbours, a very diverse range of matters have been considered to ensure good living condition. For example, size of units, private outdoor space, direct access to the street, accessible and adaptable units, overheating, noise from roads and cumulative plants, daylight and sunlight. Some matters will need to be controlled by planning conditions to ensure long-term mitigation and protection. As seen on this slide, the proposals perform well against the Building for Life topics, achieving 10 greens and 2 ambers. Overall, the proposal is considered to be acceptable in principle and would deliver an interesting interpretation of the urban Ashmere character area and positively contribute to the evolution of the wider Ashmere village. The proposal will deliver a very high quality residential development, including tenure-blind affordable housing, and in broad accordance with the area master plan and design codes for Eastern Quarry and national policy. And accordingly, the application is recommended for approval subject to the planning conditions for the committee report.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Good. Now a chance for the supporters to address the committee. So if whoever's going to speak, like to come up to the table. You are?
I am Matt Richards, the planning agent from Sales. Just give that time.
Yeah, you've got your timer on, so we'll see.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. I've introduced myself already, but I'm Matt Richards, Director at Savills, where the planning consultants for this phase. We're delighted that the proposals for the third phase of Ashmere Village are in front of you with a recommendation for approval from the officers. Following a series of pre-application meetings, including with the design review panel and the members briefing, the application was submitted in September 2024, and both Countryside Clarion and the project team worked proactively with officers at EDC and with other consultees since that time to progress the application, which is now before you. Phase 3 will deliver 216 high-quality new homes, 25% of which will be affordable in accordance with the outline planning permission. A mix of unit types are proposed, including 1 and 2 bedroom apartments through to 2, 3 and 4 bedroom houses to meet a variety of housing needs. The detailed design of the scheme is involved through the pre-application and post-submission stage. Density, scale and building heights complying with the area master plan guidelines, and overall the design and built form effectively responds to the various street typologies and character areas across the site and in the surrounding area. Bespoke dwelling and apartment designs are proposed, that respond to the site's Ashmere urban location whilst respecting the relationship with the adjacent phases of the development. High quality landscaping is incorporated within the site layouts, including street planting and play on the way opportunities. As Wendy noted, green roofs will also be provided on each apartment block in line with the biodiversity requirements of the site. The application aligns with the approved Ashmere Area Master Plan and Design Code, and we welcome ED officers' acknowledgement of the extremely high quality of the design achieved within the proposed scheme. Parking has been sensitively incorporated into the overall layout, balancing overall quantum with a landscape-led approach. Proposals will follow a fabric-first approach, with hot water and heating provided to all houses and flats over the garages by air source heat pumps. Apartments will be fitted with heat pumps for hot water demand, as well as electric panel heating and mechanical ventilation heat recovery units. As a result of this scheme will significantly exceed the Part L emissions reduction targets, contributing to a more sustainable built environment with some 66% carbon reduction expected over the building regulations requirements. All units comply with the nationally described space standards, and over 95% of the proposed dwellings comply with M42 accessibility standards, exceeding the Section 106 planning requirements. All terraces and balconies comply with the EDC balcony design guide standards, with ground floor apartments directly accessible from the street to further activate street frontages. Taking the above into account, future residents will enjoy a high standard of amenity. In summary, the scheme represents a well-considered and high-quality development, and we welcome the officers' support for it. Comprehensive engagement has been ongoing at pre-application and post-application stage. We'd like to thank officers at EDC for working cooperatively with the team from the start of the proposals. On this basis, we respectfully request members agree with the officer recommendation and resolve to approve the application.
Thank you very much indeed. Committee members, any questions?
Can I stay here?
Yeah, if you stay there, and
We have
all on your colleagues if rather pass the question on.
Okay.
Any questions from Valerie?
Ask a couple of questions, please. It does certainly appear to be a high quality design, attractive. But there are a couple of issues I wanted to ask more about. And one is noise, and bizarrely from the heat source pumps, because the recommendation for that is it is unacceptably high, one would argue. The recommendation is that residents should keep their windows shut, but these aren't passive houses and the like. And in warm weather, one would wish to open the windows, and I just don't know if there's more can be done about that or what the rationale is. And I know it's a kind of classic problem, if you like, with heat source pumps, but to say, well, keep your windows shut is not acceptable, I don't think.
I haven't got the numbers off the top of my head, but I think there's only a very few number of units where that could be a potential issue. And they obviously would have the ability to open their windows. They're not going to be prevented from doing so. So I suppose on that basis, we would. It's kind of a balance between ensuring the sustainable means of cooling that you need to, whilst enabling those properties effectively to benefit from that and not suffer unduly from overheating, given the orientation of some of them. It's a valid point. It's only in very limited circumstances, and they would still be able to.
Do we know how many properties it affects, to the extent that occupants would have to close windows?
Off the top of my head,
Focus, or is it all your apartment?
Selection of units in the apartment, as far as like Matt said, there is a small number. Don't know the number off the top of my head, but we felt that going for a no gas approach on this scheme, the sustainability benefits that bring sort of outweighed the issues on a small number of apartments.
I do agree there's a sort of balancing act here, because clearly there's environmental seizing. It's a heavy price for some. since to pay. That's another one about parking. When you actually talked about it in the presentation, you know, generally it seems to comply with parking management plans and so forth. But there are sort of swathes where there are 1.5 parking spaces, aren't there, for some 3-bed units. There's 0.8 spaces for the apartments. And on some schemes, there have been conditions which say that you have to advise there's not a parking space when property is sold. And I don't know if that's, sorry if I've missed it, but I wasn't sure if that was what's being planned here. Because again, we've got a number of units. There isn't a one-to-one space, and actually, again, there's benefits because it's on the fast track route and so on and so forth. But I don't quite know how that's going to be managed.
So I missed the end of the question.
Well, because the apartments have 0.8 spaces. In other words, there's not a space for each dwelling.
Correct.
And similarly, on the 3 beds, it's 1.5 spaces, presumably shared amongst dwellings.
That's right.
And I don't understand how that's going to be managed at the point of sale.
At the point of
Who's what?
So you at the point of sale, buy that property with either one space if you're an apartment, or with no spaces. And in that instance, when you convey and complete on the contract, it will explicitly say you have a right to park in that space. But there will be, like you say, some plots that don't have a parking space.
So they will be sold on that basis. So some apartments will be sold without spaces, and some 3-bed houses will be sold with 2 spaces.
And some with 1, correct? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add to that, condition 23 requires us to submit details of how that will be managed as well.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Annie.
Yeah, I read something, but I can't quite remember exactly. So just wanted to clarify. Thank you for your presentation. The properties that front onto Fast Track, will they have small gardens, or will their literally front doors open straight onto the pavement? Couldn't remember quite what the layout's going to be for that.
So yes, the property dwellings will.
And property say that if you like to.
So the properties fronting onto the Fast Track, the houses will front will lead onto the Fast Track with front doors, but their parking is behind in the gardens, and their gardens are over 60 square meters large. Most of them are actually 10 meters deep there. So there are sufficient gardens for them, and let alone that they're very close by to Ashmead Green, so they also have got the benefit of the community garden, communal public space that they can use as well.
Okay, great. So there won't be actually any small front garden.
There will be a front garden for the fencible space.
Yeah.
For on the Fast Track, because that will be a public realm, won't it? So yes.
David.
Yeah, having been to Ashmere several occasions, I can see how this fits as the next part of a jigsaw. Developments are, and it's very impressive. I'm always concerned about infrastructure, and I recognise the nature of the road as you have there. I take it that the plan is that the KCC will be adopting all those roads. Could you specify to us which roads they will be adopting and those that won't? And could you identify why they won't be adopting?
So the secondary roads, which run along the west and then the southern boundary of phase 3, will be adopted.
Mm-hmm.
And Fast Track will also be adopted, that runs sort of that dissects the parcels. And the tertiary roads and the new streets won't be adopted. That'll be under the private management company as per the other previous phases.
Yeah, it's an area of my concern. The management companies will be responsible for these roads, and by association, people living in these houses will be responsible for the roads. It's a sort of argument I have with KCC that they seem to be neglecting that responsibility. In other areas, it's because they don't put the power cables through the roads, obviously. That was really my main point, as I'm always concerned about these things. And obviously there's the link with social housing aspect, which I know our officers have commented on and are happy with. I think it's a good development. And it's always lovely to be able to pick holes in things, but if you can't find the holes, it's not easy to pick them. So can I just say, it's very good. Thank you very much. I am concerned about roads, and I have a feeling that this is going to be a continuing story as we go our way through.
Anybody got any other questions?
Just ask one more. It's great to see affordable housing the like, and also it's 2, 3 and 4 bed units, which is also very positive. But they're all clustered together in one bit, aren't they, in the scheme? And also they're furthest removed really from fast track. What was driving that, Sophie, shall we say? Other than viability.
There are shared ownership units that are very close to fast track, but I take your point, affordable rent do seem to be clustered together. I think when we first started and looked at the mix, the starting point was generally, the 2s and 3 beds are all located in that area. We took comments on board that, there should be more family-sized homes, hence why bringing in some 4 beds. And we just feel from a management perspective, keeping them, so the 4 bed is located next to the 2s and the cluster of 2s and 3s, it's better from a management perspective that they are sort of grouped together in that way. I do agree with you. I think that.
What's the walking distance from affordable rent, to fast track? I can't gauge the scale. Just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes. Okay. That's helpful to
know. Any other questions? No. Well, thank you very much for that. I'm going to ask you to, if you don't mind, to step back, and we'll now have a discussion. Can I just ask Wendy on noise, which was raised by Valerie? I'm looking at 692 in the officer report, and we've gone to an advisor, Bureau Veritas, I think, and they're saying that the resultant cumulative noise would not exceed the 40 dB, which is an LAEQ 15-minute criterion. So it comes within that, but it's over the preferred limit of 35. Is that the essence of it?
Yeah, and the noise impact assessment was looking at the apartment blocks only having mechanical ventilation, and it's more complicated in as much that the overheating assessment identifies that potentially there might be about another few units that might need mechanical ventilation in addition. So where we've gone back to our assessor, he's said that the assessment was done on the basis of being a worst case scenario, and he said that it would be very unlikely. Sorry, I think this was the applicant who said this would be very unlikely if they had to put some more mechanical ventilation into meet part of building regs on other individual properties. It would be very unlikely to exceed that worst case scenario. They were quite confident that it would still. So we've actually put a condition to say that in respect to noise, you can't go above, and they need to demonstrate they're not going above that 40 decibels, which is what they've, their report is saying. So we've tried to capture that, but it's a little tricky.
We've taken advice and followed the advice.
We have a condition. Yep.
We still need to ensure that when the exhaust pumps are installed, they're located in such a way that we still manage to deliver within or lower than the 40 dB.
Yeah. Hopefully that is all captured in that condition.
Okay.
Any views from anybody?
David, it is obviously, so I'm getting boring on infrastructure, but fast track as it stands at the moment is coming into this area. Forgive me, it is just fast track. It's not mixed with public vehicles, or is it mixed with public vehicles? It's exclusive. So it's going to come through, but ultimately in the future, it's going to go straight on and through the cliff and out the other side. But at the moment, and possibly at the time these buildings are occupied, because KCC will probably take forever to dig a hole in the wall. There's going to be a slight change of emphasis because buses are going to have to come here, turn around and go away or something like that. So the noise is going to be different. The other thing is just road surfaces. We have issues in my particular part of the world with fast track in the fact that they have speed rumbles to slow people down, which is great unless you live next door to them, because every time a vehicle goes over one of those rumbly things, it shakes your house. I haven't been up and down the fast track, but is there those sort of speed restrictions? No, so that's
No, so fast track will be going all the way through Eastern Point. We expect that to be happening. So there is a trigger point whereby fast track needs to go from Castle Hill all the way through to Hedge Place roundabout by the time the school opens. So by the point that these homes are starting to be occupied, we would expect fast track to be going all the way through turnarounds, and that would also include pedestrian and cycle connections. And there are no speed restraint rumble strips on fast track.
That's my mindset. So good. Thank you very much.
For me, one of the design points in the scheme is that when you first look at the form of the blocks, it's only when you understand the detailing that you really appreciate that this is of high design quality and is going to work. So for me, if we were to approve it, we'd have to be very careful to ensure that the details, which and the officers drew my attention to the design and access statement, where the details can be seen quite easily, and that really makes a difference. So for my part, I appreciate the work that's gone into that, but I want to make sure what we see now is what we get if we approve it. I'm looking at the applicants. Any other comments from others?
I think it's a fair comment because I have a personal preference for brickwork. I don't like shits that such. They have a habit of falling off and going discoloured, with bricks are king. Thank you very much. I like this, and thanks to our own design people for making sure that is the case. I know it's not everywhere, but I think it's good. Strange enough, one of the ways of looking at this as a whole is when you come up off the M20, off the A2, and you come down towards Blue Water. If you look to your right, you can see what's going on there already, and it doesn't look bad. And I think this will add to that without a doubt. But it is a design issue because, as echoed your thoughts, we have seen things that look brilliant here, but then when we've gone out and had a look at them, they haven't quite been what we expected them to be. So we would really hope that you would follow through on that.
I think we can compliment our design officers by saying it goes beyond not looking bad. It looks good.
I apologise.
I saw Simon looking slightly
How terribly negative of me, Simon. I do apologise. But no, it does look very good. Say no.
Any other comments or observations? Lee?
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, I'm actually very impressed. I have to say, I like the idea of green routes. I like what it looks like in terms of landscape and an appearance, and the mix. I think this does look, at least on paper, a very significant development. Thank you.
Well, as I say, we've got to make sure that what appears on paper appears in reality, which so far it is, and all credit to our officers for that. Any other comments from anybody? No?
We've got a suite of conditions anyway in relation to design detail. So I agree. I actually think it's a really attractive design solution. It needs to be translated into reality.
Well, should we move to a vote? The recommendation is that we approve the application. So I move the recommendation. Those in favour? Unanimous. Well, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for all the work that goes into this, because there's been a lot of discussion between applicant and the EDC team. So thank you to everybody involved, because that's how it should work. We end up with something we can approve.
So I'll laugh at it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right. Now I go on to the next item on the agenda. Planning activity report.
Thank you.
And this is for noting. So
if I could just say a few words, Chair, if I can. So this is the activity report covering performance for the Q3 periods. It covers the speed and quality performance. We have to report back to the department on. We also include some enforcement areas. The criteria changed in December 2024, so we have a slightly different way to report back on speed and quality over different claim periods. So essentially, other speed period has then reduced down to be a year. Quality is then still 2. Time and speed is looking good, so thank you to the team for that. The quality one, we are also exceeding those targets. This month, we have included a bit of an annex for you. We haven't had a lot of appeal decisions at EDC since we've been created, but Annex C just includes a bit of a summary about some advertisement appeals that we unfortunately lost both of those. So just to give the committee a little bit of background to those 2 appeals, as they didn't go our way, but against the overall assessment of the quality of decisions, we are still okay. But yes, happy to take questions on any of that, Chair.
So when we get scored on, say, time which decisions are made, full marks on that. We then, on quality, slightly unfair, I think, method of scoring. You get scored on the basis of appeal decisions. And so we're going to get marked out on that. But we have to make decisions, and often these are delegated decisions on the basis of the applications, not and overly concerned about that mark.
Well, I mean, I think that what probably isn't clear, because I always have to check this myself, is it isn't the number of appeals that you lose out of the number of appeals that you have. So, for example, these applications were classed as non-majors. So you then do the assessment based upon the total number of non-majors that you have in the period, and that we have then lost 2 of those against the total number that we have had, even though a lot of those would be approved under delegated powers. So certainly my call is sort of tracking that number, so we know how we perform against. But you're absolutely right. We shouldn't be approving things that we're not content with, just to try to chase down a number. So.
Good. Any other questions on that?
Do you think it's a shame about the appeals? I must admit, and it's ironic in a way, isn't it? Inspectors saying, well, because it's rather nicely landscaped and planted, it will kind of offset the board. And I mean, maybe there's a different, well, not happen again, but a different approach of saying we're trying to deliver on the city principles here. And it's kind of perverse what's happening. In other words, the inspector is not considering, the appeal within that context. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
I find it amazing. I mean, when you've got something like Red Road with the stuff they put around, you could see that from space. I mean, there's so much on there. We have issues, obviously, Dartford, sometimes Lumley's. We're lucky the fact that we don't have too many, but we don't have as many people trying to do much advertising their product as you do here. So I have no great concerns about that. Cheats off that it's going to skew your very good marks.
Well, it is what it is, and planning inspectors make decisions.
Listen,
what we will do when we get to the year end is we would explain what that means against 10%. So you'll know whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 9%, just to get that context a little bit better.
Right, so that was the planning activity report. So we duly note that report. Delegated items report.
Yes, also for noting, so the period across December and January, so 23 decisions were determined under delegated powers across those 2 months, which is pretty good going considering that included Christmas. So we've been getting decisions out. It's good. But you have to take any questions as usual.
The only question I had was on open storage. And not something that generally would be encouraged in a garden city. And I just wondered about that. I think there are two proposals used for open storage. One, what were they?
Yeah, so the first of those was, so there's one at Church Path. Peter, I don't know which order they come in your report. I'm just trying to check. Yes, so we haven't got page numbers, I'm afraid. Yes, but 240067. Members will be aware that we had two larger applications for open storage at the North Embankment West employment site. I circulated that report around to you. I think it was around the autumn time, and you were content for those to be determined. This application, 240067, is a small extension of the open storage within Church Path Pit. So if you were in Church Path Pit, it would just all feel part of the same sort of spatial area. It wasn't included in the original outline permission for that bit of land, but it was included in the onward land sale. So it is logical then for that bit of land to then come at the same time as the rest of Church Path Pit. We previously done engagement with the local councils, for example, Gresham Council, where they were actually relatively relaxed about open storage coming forward, understanding where the market sort of lay in relation to sort of land prices and various different things. The second one in the paper is 240065. So that's a reservoir. It says reservoir north of Lower Road. It's actually a water reservoir. It was in the field many years ago. So it was a bit of open land in the existing Northfleet Industrial Estate. So that's one of the commercial areas that was contained within the EDC boundary of London Resorts. And the proposals, even though it obviously does refer to open storage class B8, was to have vehicle parking there associated with. Absolutely support the comments you made there around vision, and certainly we have been trying to push for build forms in some of these areas to support job creation, but we obviously have to determine the policy and system.
Thank you very much.
I'm confused where 6 Ainsley Close. This is two applications. 0154 and both of them. It's indicating it's in Swansea, and I'm being pedantic because it says the ward is Greenhithe and Knockwell.
Which I think it will mean it's either in Croxton and Gary, Craylands Lane. David,
is it? Yeah, I've been trying to find it only because there are. If it's Swanscombe, it's Swanscombe.
What we do is we use the addresses that come up on the GIS system. Looking at the picture, I would say that is the Craylands Lane site. It is, yes, it's the Craylands Lane.
Oh, I see. So yes, it's literally the new development.
Yes. So it's in our urban development area. I think the rest will come up as Swanscombe, but the ward will be Greenhithe.
It blew me what it is. Yes, you're right. Sorry, it's a bit of a strange one for me as well. Because it's so new. Don't recognise the address. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Could I ask as well, please? It's 24017. I just can't envisage it. It says it's a single-storey side extension, but to a top floor apartment.
Sorry, 1731.
24017.
Wendy might be able to help with this. This is the Lawn Road Flats. Flat 7, 4 Hay Street.
Yes, it's got a roof terrace all the way around, so they are extended onto part of the roof terrace. Yeah. Yeah, it's all set back. The top floor is all set back. It's got a penthouse with a lovely roof terrace.
So actually the overall architecture isn't spoiled.
We had a look, and Simon advised as well, and where they have put it means that it doesn't interfere with the view up and down the high street. So it can marginally be seen from other areas, but not so much that it would be detrimental.
Interesting. Okay.
All spotted. It's quite a strange description.
Anything else? No, well, thank you very much. Shall we note that report? Noted. And I think that completes our agenda for this evening.
Thank you.
So thank you very much indeed, everybody, and have a good evening.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.